The night the school called my name, it didn't use my ears. It used the air itself. I was alone in the security office, half asleep, watching the hallway cameras flicker when the temperature dropped so fast my breath fogged the glass. On monitor 3, the second-floor corridor shimmered like heat on asphalt. Then, slowly, letters began to form on the screen, wet, red letters that looked scratched into the image itself. MUSAWIR. I stood up so hard my chair slammed into the wall. The name vanished. The hallway was empty again. But the intercom crackled, and a child's whisper crawled out of it. "Don't leave us here." That was my first night working the graveyard shift at Ridgeway Public School. It was supposed to be easy money. 8 hours of quiet, a few patrols, and some paperwork. Nobody warned me the building was still full. Ridgeway was old, the kind of place where the bricks held stories and the staircases groaned like tired bones. The town pretended it was normal. They sent their kids there every day, hung bright banners in the halls, and painted over the stains that never quite went away. But after dark, when the doors locked and the lights dimmed, something woke up. I'd taken the job because I needed cash. My uncle had passed away, leaving me with bills in a small apartment that felt emptier every night. I didn't know that by choosing that school, I was stepping into a grave that hadn't finished filling itself. My first patrol started at 11:15 p.m. I took a flashlight and walked the ground floor. The lockers were dented and scarred, names scratched into metal by students who were probably grown now. The air smelled faintly of bleach and something else, something sweet and rotten at the same time. When I passed the boys' restroom, I heard a sink running. I pushed the door open. The faucets were dry, the mirrors were fogged over, even though the room was cold. In the mist on the glass, someone had drawn a stick figure hanging from a line. I wiped it away with my sleeve. My skin tingled where it touched the glass, like I'd brushed against static. As I turned to leave, I saw wet footprints leading out of the restroom and down the hall. Small ones. Bare feet. "Hello," I called. My voice echoed back thin and scared. No answer. The footprints faded halfway to the stairwell, as if whoever made them had simply lifted off the floor and disappeared. By midnight, the cameras were acting up. Hallways that should have been empty showed shadows moving just out of frame. The gym lights flickered on and off by themselves. Once, I saw a group of children standing in the cafeteria, their heads bowed. When I blinked, they were gone, but the chairs were still pulled out, as if someone had just stood up. I told myself it was stress. Lack of sleep. Old wiring. Anything but the truth pressing against the back of my eyes. At 12:37 a.m., the fire alarm went off. I ran, heart pounding, to the main panel. There was no smoke, no fire, just the alarm screaming like the building itself was afraid. I reset it, and the noise cut off, leaving a ringing silence that made my ears ache. That's when I heard footsteps above me. Slow, heavy, dragging. They were coming from the second floor. I didn't want to go up there. Every instinct I had screamed at me to stay where I was. But it was my job, and I was young and stupid enough to think I could handle anything. The stairs creaked under my boots. Halfway up, my flashlight flickered, then steadied. At the top, the hallway stretched out long and dark, lockers on either side like rows of teeth. "Security," I said. "If anyone's here, show yourself." Something showed itself. At the far end of the corridor, a tall shape stepped out of a classroom. It looked like a man, but too thin, too stretched, like it had been pulled apart and never put back together properly. Its face was a blur, as if someone had tried to erase it and failed. It tilted its head toward me. Then it started running. I turned and bolted down the stairs, nearly tripping. The thing's footsteps pounded behind me, faster than they should have been. I burst into the office and slammed the door, locking it with shaking hands. The pounding stopped right outside. For a long moment, there was nothing but my own breathing. Then, slowly, fingers began to tap against the glass window in the door. One by one. "Too many of them. Open," a voice said. It sounded like dozens of people speaking at once. "We need to go home." I backed away until I hit the desk. "You're not real," I whispered. "You're not real." The tapping stopped. The door handle turned. I don't remember fainting, but when I came to, the office was quiet again. The door was still locked. The window was empty, but on the floor, leading away from the door, were those same small, wet footprints. They went deeper into the school. I should have left right then. Walked out and never looked back. Instead, I followed them. They led me to the old wing, the part of the school that had been closed off after a structural incident years ago. The walls were cracked, the paint peeling like dead skin. The air was colder here, thick with the smell of damp and decay. At the end of the hall was a door marked storage. The footprints went right up to it and stopped. I opened the door. Inside were boxes stacked to the ceiling, covered in dust. In the middle of the room was something that didn't belong. A small wooden desk, a child's desk, with a pile of old notebooks on top. The covers were stained dark brown. I picked one up and flipped it open. It was a class roster. Names, dates, attendance. The last page had a list of students marked absent. All of them. The date was 10 years ago. As I read, the temperature dropped again. I could see my breath. A low sound filled the room, like distant crying. I turned, and the children were there. They stood between the boxes, dozens of them, pale and thin, their eyes dark and hollow. Some had bruises around their necks. Some were wet, water dripping from their clothes onto the dusty floor. They all stared at me. One stepped forward, a little girl with tangled hair and a cracked smile. "They locked us in," she said. "There was a fire. We couldn't get out." Images slammed into my mind. A storage room filled with smoke, children pounding on the door, screaming as the flames ate the air. A teacher's voice on the other side, panicked, trying to unlock it, then disappearing as something pulled him away. The official story had been a gas leak. No casualties. The wing closed for safety. It had been a lie. "They forgot us," the girl whispered. "We're still burning." The tall, faceless thing stepped out of the shadows behind them. I knew what it was without being told. It wasn't one ghost. It was all of them, fused together by pain and fear into something that didn't know how to stop. "You have to help us," it said, in that many-voiced whisper. "We want to go home. I don't know how, I said, tears running down my face. I'm just a guard. Tell the truth, the children said together. Let them see. The thing reached out and touched my forehead. The world exploded into fire. I saw everything. The night of the incident. The faulty wiring. The flames spreading through the old wing. The kids herded into the storage room for safety. The door jamming. The screams as smoke filled their lungs. The town officials standing outside the next day, deciding it was easier to lie than to face what they'd done. When the vision ended, I was on my knees. The children were gone. The storage room was empty, the desk and notebooks reduced to ash. I stumbled back to the office and called the police. My voice shook as I told them what I'd found. They thought I was crazy. Maybe they would have ignored me if not for the security footage. Because when they checked the cameras, they saw it too. They saw the children in the halls. They saw the tall thing chasing me. They saw the fire that wasn't really there but burned all the same. The school was shut down the next day. An investigation was opened. The truth came out, ugly and undeniable. Families who had been told their kids moved away or transferred learned what had really happened. I quit my job and tried to move on. But the school wasn't done with me. Some nights, when I'm trying to sleep, my phone lights up. A notification from an unknown camera feed. It shows the empty hallways of Ridgeway, dust drifting through beams of moonlight. And sometimes, just for a second, I see small, wet footprints crossing the floor, heading for the door. They're still trying to go home. And I'm terrified that one day, they'll find me again and decide I'm the only door left to open.